Hi there. Hi guys. How are you today? I don't know why I'm saying hi, how are you in such a upbeat, uplifting fashion, because today is not an upbeat or uplifting day. In fact, today is a very sad day in Ukraine. And it's a very, very, very important day in Ukraine too, especially now more than ever, while millions of Ukrainians are going through a genocide. Um, with that said, we're going to dive a little deeper into what Holodomor is, resources that you can read or watch to find out more about it once we have a little more people, because I feel like I'd rather wait for some people to show up and not have to say it like a million times on repeat. So I'm going to start with the hellos. I'm going to say hi, Kayla. Hi, Drake. Hi, Praxis. Hi, Carolyn. Carolyn says, hi, I've never been so glad to see a YouTube ad. Yeah. Hi, Mariana. Hi, Paw Print. Hi, Rebecca, or Rebecky's. Hi, Wazit. Hi, Darlene. Hi, Veronica. But yeah, so for those of you who didn't hear yesterday, I'm going to repeat it for a couple of days. Hi, Barb, for a couple of days because it's new, but basically, my YouTube got monetized, so that means that all of the Torque interviews are now monetized too, and that means the more you watch them, the more ad revenue my channel incurs, and that way all of that revenue is gonna go to Torque from his videos. I also have an update, which is kind of phenomenal and also kind of like terrifying, but so Torque decided to go back to the battlefield. So he's gonna find out on Monday or Tuesday if his leg can handle it. He's not fully recovered or fully healed, but he is. Well, you've seen interviews with him. You've seen what Torque is like. Torque is ready to roll, and Torque is ready to go back and defend our country. Thank you so much, Eva. Torque is ready to go back and defend our country no matter what. So he messaged me today and he literally said, well, so I am planning on going back. And so I asked him and I was like, how is your recovery going? Like, is your leg much better then? And he was like, well, I mean, yes and no. We did like a special scan and stuff like that. And like a specific scan and stuff like that. And I will find out on Monday or Tuesday, but he is basically, knowing him, or rather having befriended him a couple of months ago and having like talked to him multiple times, so having an idea of what his personality is like, and you guys I'm sure have an idea of his personality after watching the interview with him on my channel. Torque is a warrior, and so I don't think there's anything that's going to stop him. I think that he can't sit in place, and I think that he can't just not do anything, and I think that he can't watch other people defend Ukraine and not do it himself. So he's going back to the battlefield, and I think that in his head that's already decided, no matter what is going to happen on Monday or Tuesday in terms of like, the condition of his leg. He is going to be he's going to be getting gear, and I'm going to be sort of helping him get the gear, at least if not financially. I will be helping him order it in the US and get it to Ukraine, because apparently prices are like 10 times the price in Ukraine right now for anything military related because of lack of availability. And so I'm going to be actively participating in helping him send it to Ukraine. But yes, he is. He says he is planning on going back. So I, however, have, knowing him, I don't think he's planning. I think it's already settled in his head, and I think he's going back the second that he can, or the second that he can manage to like escape rehabilitation or something. But Torque is Torque, and Torque is going to be doing everything he can to protect our country. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the Spy Lair. So hi Gap, hi Albert, hi Juju, hi Grumpy. Um, mm, Hi Kala Harris. Sorry for my copy paste. It's okay. Copy pasta. I would love some copy pasta. but yeah, basically Torque is planning on going back to the battlefield. And part of me is terrified, part of me is very proud. Also part of me knows that there is nothing anyone can do about it, because again, if you watch the interviews, you are familiar with Torque's personality, and you know that if he decided that, he's going to accomplish that. But he's an incredible guy, and he was messaging me, basically asking me to help him send the uniform. And he was like, I'll send you the money, and like if you could purchase it and just send it to me, because in the US it's also more expensive than it used to be, but at least it's not like 10 times the price. And it's also harder to source certain like things in Ukraine. So he'll need like fleeces, he'll need like proper gear, proper boots, and stuff like that. And so I think I'm gonna start a GoFundMe if you guys want to contribute to his. He didn't ask me for that, and he doesn't know, and he's most likely not gonna know. I'm gonna try to reach out to some maybe local news, or like, I don't know. I would love to reach out to Oprah because I know that would get funded in a second, but obviously I'm not going to hold my breath for it. But so yeah, I'm going to start a GoFundMe for him, for the uniform stuff, because yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of money, and for Ukraine especially right now. And he's gonna need like a lot of gear, and all of this gear is not even protection gear, nor is it like any ammo or anything like that. It's just mostly clothes, literally. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna be doing. Also, hi Taz. When is he planning on going? So I'm gonna find out more on Monday or Tuesday when he gets his results from like I don't know what it's called, but it's basically kind of like he was at the doctor's, right? And they did like a scan of his leg, muscles, or of his like nerves and stuff. And so he's gonna get the results on Monday or Tuesday, he said. And so I'm gonna let you know the second that I know, because I just don't want to say anything, before anything is confirmed, and also because I don't necessarily know yet. But I will do my best to find out. Hi, Viva. And so that is that. Hi, Jillian. Also, yes. Hi, Taz. So that's that. A little bit of the operational questions, I guess, or operational discussion a little bit. So I know a lot of you watch Aravosis, and Aravosis does this thing. So I know I get lost with the comments, and I know sometimes I don't answer your comments because I didn't see them and stuff like that. But now that I have the ability to like send the super chats or like whatever, which I don't want to do, I don't necessarily know if I want to do it that way. But do you want to do it the same way as Aravosis, where like if it's a super chat, then it's guaranteed to be answered on YouTube? And if it's not super chat, then like it's not that I'm gonna like only answer super chats or anything like that. It's just that sometimes genuinely just I'm reading the news and I don't see. And so the way that I can do it is like, if you have a question and you really want it answered and you don't want to like spam it a million times, then if it's a super chat, then it's going to be answered immediately. Hi Sasha, my YouTube is the same as my TikTok. Yeah. So yes, привет, привет. So that's what I'm. That's I guess like that could be a thing, because that way they also show up in like different colors, and there is no way I'm gonna miss them. Hi Graham. Hi Graham. So also, you guys, if you don't know who Sasha is right here. And he is also Ukrainian, and he is from Western Ukraine, just like I am. And well, we're from different cities, but we're very nearby each other. Technically, we're like border, our states share a border. He's from a neighboring state, and he's a Ukrainian creator. He's in New York as well. He has a very cute dog, and he also has a very sweet fiance. He does lives with her sometimes, and I still want to see how she decorated their apartment. Oh, got the letter from TikTok that my live streams are still going to be banned. Oh no. Hi, dog. Hi, Melissa, right? Melissa, I think. I'm sorry. But hi, Yulia. Hi, Sasha. Oh, hi. Vanessa. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm very, very bad with names. I'm incredibly bad with names. Like I always, I always, I'm so like, I've had so many embarrassing moments where like I've heard someone's name. Like I'm a visual person, so unless I see it written, it's really hard for me to remember. And I've had so many embarrassing moments where somebody has like told me their name a million times, and I was like, yes, I got it. And then like, I would call them something completely different, and they would just be like, um, okay. But Vanessa, I will now remember. You know, the embarrassing factor is usually very good for remembering things. Hi, Black Viking. So yeah, so that is what I had to share about YouTube, and that is what I had to share about Torque. So for those of you who didn't hear, Torque is most likely, well, he's planning on going back to the battlefield. But if you watch the interviews with Torque, Torque is an Azov regiment serviceman, and he is also a born and raised Mariupolite. So he's from Mariupol. He defended Mariupol. He defended Azovstal. He was in Russian captivity, and he was exchanged back to the territory of Ukraine in July. Since then, he has been in rehabilitation for a significant trauma that he has in his leg. He's missing part of a muscle. He's missing part of a muscle in his leg. There's like some crazy stuff going on with his nerves. He is there is a lot, but Torque is a warrior in every sense of this word. And if you watched my it's a 4-part interview series, but 3 parts have already aired. I was kind of waiting for my YouTube monetization so I can air the 4th, because I want to give all of the monetization from his interviews to him so he can buy an apartment for his mom and grandma, who are his family, who have lost everything in Mariupol. So if you watched interviews with him, you will know that Torque is not the kind of guy who gives up, and Torque is not the kind of guy who has breaks or thinks that anything holds him back. So he had just told me today that he's planning on going back to service. And mind you, that is the man who is missing part of the muscle in his leg, and has like lots of nerve ending issues and stuff like that. So part of me is very scared and very sad, and part of me is like, well, I know no one can stop him, so I'm just gonna do everything I can in my power to make this journey better for him, like help him buy uniform and stuff like that, because you know, I just want him to be safe and warm and dry, and you know, have boots that can support his at least his leg issues. So yeah, so that's Torque. Now to today's thumbnail. Today's thumbnail says 4.5 million dead in a famine. So today is Ukraine's Day of Holodomor victims' remembrance. Holodomor was an artificial famine that has been unleashed onto Ukraine by Soviet authorities, Stalin in particular, 3 times. The first time was in the 20s, but it resulted in hundreds of thousands of deaths. The second time, hi Sasha, thank you. The second time, it was in 1932 to 1933, and that was the biggest segment of Holodomor. About 4.5 million Ukrainians have died in Holodomor in 1932-33. And the next one was in 1946 to 1948. And I actually have a personal story about the 1946 to 1948 one. Thank you, Radio. So first of all, 4.5 million victims is a very arbitrary number, because it's anywhere from 4.5 million to 15 million. It depends on how you are conducting the statistic. 4.5 million is the statistic of deaths purely by starvation. However, during Holodomor, there were also people who were shot in mass, like assassinated by Bolsheviks. There were people who committed self-unalivings due to starvation. There were people who died from underlying to starvation diseases. There were people who were born with defects and died from that. So again, 4.5 million is a very arbitrary number. These numbers vary depending on what you count in. So it is anywhere from 4.5 million to 15 million people. And it is one of the deadliest, one of the most tragic events in Ukrainian history. And today is the 4th Saturday of November. And every year on 4th Saturday of November, we commemorate the victims of Holodomor. And usually the way that you do it is you put up a candle and you light a candle for those victims in your window. And so before the extravagance of recording videos on TikTok and being able to explain what you're doing to a wider audience, what we used to do is we used to put a candle in our profile pictures for this entire weekend on like Instagram or Facebook. So now Holodomor means holod is famine. Holod is cold. Ironically, those were both present during that time. More is to exhaust somebody into something. Like you can more comes from the word morite. So you can like exhaust me into I don't know, you can emotionally exhaust me, you can emotionally morite mana. But in this context, it's like exhaustion into famine. So Holodomor is that we have been exhausted into this famine, or like we have been exhausted from this famine. And that's basically what Holodomor means. Now, I have a personal story from Holodomor in 1946 to 48. My grandfather was a young boy, and he apparently, as I found out a couple of months ago, actually at that time lived in Donetsk, which I had no idea about. Because here's the thing, a lot of the population of older Ukrainian people really don't like talking about the period of time during World War II and right after, or about their parents' experiences with Holodomor, because it's traumatic. It's incredibly traumatic, and it's really hard to sort of go through. So, and it's hard to remember. And only now are these people starting to speak up because they understand the importance of the world knowing about it, right? So my grandfather told me that as a kid, he moved to Donetsk, and him and his mother were living in Donetsk. And then in 1946, like mid 1946 or mid 1947, they moved to Dnipro, which used to be at that point Dnipropetrovsk. And he said that there was no food. So Holodomor in 1932-33 kind of touched on the whole of Ukraine, and it was mostly villages. In 1946 to 48, it was mostly Eastern Ukraine, because Stalin was trying to kill off Eastern Ukrainians and then substitute them with Russians, and then basically be like, hey, it was Russian land all along. And that's how we ended up actually with so much Russian-speaking population in there. And so my grandfather was living in Dnipro. He said that there was no food. They were starving. Basically, his mom would make 600 of whatever currency it was a month at the time, and like a thing of bread would cost 200 of that currency. So you basically made enough to buy 3 breads, right? And it's not because salaries were so low and inflation was so high. No, it's just specifically for Ukrainians, these foods cost much more than they would anywhere else, because they wanted to starve them. So somehow my grandfather and his mom managed to move to Lviv, which is far western Ukraine, and Dnipro is like southeastern Ukraine. And he was like, for the first time in years, I saw fruit, and it was just on stands in stores, and you could go and buy it, and it wasn't like cosmically priced. And so for him, it was like a big shock, because he thought that maybe there would be more food, or like a little more food. But he was like, when we first moved here, we ate everything we could see, and we would spend all of our money on food because we were just so like deprived of it. And so that's my grandpa's story. Now, what happened during Holodomor is it usually targeted mostly villages, and during 1932 to 1933, what they would do is they would come in and they would take all of the grain, all of the crops, all of the food from Ukrainian people in villages. If you were trying to go and forage for food, you would be shot. If you were trying to leave your village and go to the city or to a neighboring village to go try and get food from somewhere else, you would be shot. There were Bolsheviks standing everywhere, and they were restricting movements of Ukrainians. And so Russians and the Soviet Union tried to portray Holodomor as a natural disaster. Ukrainian crops that year were really, really bad. And that's why so many people died, millions and millions of people, but they were starved and purposefully, and their movement was restricted, and they weren't allowed to go find food by any means. So, yeah, it was a horrifying event. There was this, European nations were offering to give Ukraine food when they have heard about Holodomor, and the Soviet Union politely declined. So we didn't get that. And the reason why, it's been like 70 years since, or 50, well, actually, yeah, 70 years since, and a little over 70 years, and we still feel it like it was yesterday, because every one of our grandmothers has a story of eating soil. Every one of our grandmothers has a story of her mother eating soil. Every Ukrainian has lost a relative in Holodomor. Every Ukrainian knows what it is. Every Ukrainian understands what a genocide is, because unfortunately it has been unleashed on us every single decade. And I don't even mean in a form of starvation. There were also mass assassinations of Ukrainian speakers and Ukrainian literary elite in the 60s. Right after that, in the 70s, we had Chernobyl, and it wasn't properly dealt with. It was just it was just constant. And the fact that I'm here today, and the fact that my friends are here today, and the fact that Sasha is here today, and the fact that Ukrainian people that are here today is purely due to perseverance of our ancestors and their will to live. So that is that. And right now, the Russian authorities are unleashing a famine on the whole world by blocking Ukrainian grain. And that's something that's very familiar to them, because they've done it before. Also, Sasha said that he posted a video update on YouTube today too. So I didn't know Sasha has a YouTube as well. So I'm going to go follow him, and I'm going to say, you guys, if you like to, probably should go do that as well. Or if you follow him on TikTok and you didn't know that he has a YouTube, then there you go. He does. Let me look him up, and I'm going to go follow him as well. But I did not know. Oh yeah, he does. Look at that. So one of the things that I want to talk about today is some materials that you can read to find out more about Holodomor. So one of the best resources is a movie called Bitter Harvest. It was filmed by a Canadian Ukrainian director. And it's fantastic. It really shows exactly what has happened. During that time. Also, there is the Red Famine. That's the book. You know what? I have a list of these things, so I will tell you. It's really hard to remember all of the names of these things, and also sometimes you just don't want to remember them, But there is Bloodlands is a book. It is a very, very, very good book. Mr. Jones is a movie about Holodomor. Bitter Harvest is a movie about Holodomor. Thank you, Entelope. Red Famine, Stalin's War on Ukraine is also a very, very, very good book. And those are the ones that I can recommend, because I know that these are really, really good. I think I'm going to look into some new books that came out, but Red Famine, Stalin's War in Ukraine, Bloodlands are the two books that I would recommend. Then Mr. Jones and Bitter Harvest, both are fantastic accounts of what really happened, although I wish, that those accounts never had to exist, because I wish that stuff had never happened. But, it is what it is. So today, what I encourage you to do is to light a candle in remembrance of the victims of Holodomor. Light a candle in memory of victims of Holodomor. And also, a lot of countries are now at least considering, finally, recognizing Holodomor as a genocide of Ukrainian population conducted by Stalin himself and the Soviet authorities. And so I would highly encourage you to email your governments, your senators, your parliaments, your legislative branches, and to demand that they recognize Holodomor as what it really is, a genocide of the Ukrainian population unleashed by the Soviet authorities. And, it's just really sad, because here's the thing. Everyone in school learns about the atrocities of the Holocaust, and everyone should. Everybody's history lesson knows. Everybody's history teacher teaches them about the Holocaust and says never again, right? But none of you, unless you have Ukrainian roots, have ever heard about Holodomor. They both start with an H. They're both a genocide. They both killed millions of people solely based on their nationality, on their ethnicity, on their religious preferences, right? Based on solely because of who they were. However, the Holocaust gets recognition and everybody learns about it in school and knows that we should never repeat that. But Holodomor is never, never, never being taught. And that's why we have had so many genocides of the Ukrainian population without anybody blinking an eye, because no one knows. And I really, really, really hope that it's going to change. Now, here's the thing. Our Holocaust was Holodomor. Our Hitler was Stalin. Our Germans are Russians. But fortunately, Germans are in line with the rest of the world now, and truly are deeply disturbed by what Hitler did. Unfortunately, Russians are not only not deeply disturbed by what Putin, Stalin, Brezhnev, Gorbachev, Khrushchev, Lenin, Romanovы, Petr I, Ekaterina II did, they encourage it. They stole our history. They reappropriated our history. They killed our people. They continue killing our people. They denied us our identity. They tried to erase our language. And they continue doing it today. And unfortunately, there are so many people still that keep denying us our identity, the reasons for why we keep fighting for our survival, and try to call it a proxy war of the United States, while we as Ukrainians are so tired of this, because it's been centuries of us doing the same thing. The world just didn't know. So today, I ask you to please light a candle to remind everybody to never forget, and put it in your window and let it burn there for a while for all of the victims of Holodomor and for all of their efforts, because the only reason I'm here and the only reason we're still here as Ukrainians is due to those people who are no longer, and due to those people who persevered. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all of the candles. That is very, very sweet of you guys. Thank you. So many of you are saying that you've lit candles, and honestly, thank you so very much. I've had mine in my window yesterday, and I will have another one later in the evening today as well. But thank you so very much for joining this practice to commemorate all of the brave Ukrainian people. Thank you. I really, truly, very much appreciate it. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Rainbow. Thank you, Nomad Cat. Thank you, everyone. I'm doing okay. It's just, you know, it's a sad day today, and it's always been an incredibly sad day, and it's just, you know, it's never really fantastic. It's never really a fantastic day, but I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's very important to get the information out there, and very important to make sure that this time around it isn't just flushed away as, oh, you know, that was just a natural disaster. So yeah. So yes. Okay, well, let's diffuse the situation a little bit, I guess, and I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. I hope everybody is having a good Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm going to say that this Thanksgiving, I am very grateful that we as Ukrainians are being heard no matter the circumstances. Oh, sound got less. 1 second. I think there's... Do you hear the sound on TikTok now? Because I connected the microphone. It should be working. It looks like it's working. So yeah, what I was trying to say is this year, I am grateful that the world is finally hearing us. And no matter the circumstances, better late than never. And this year, I'm very grateful for everybody's support. And I'm very grateful for the world standing up for us. And I'm also incredibly grateful, which, you know, I never thought I would have to consider as something extraordinary, but I'm very grateful that my parents have woken up this morning. So that is my Thanksgiving, and that is my Thanksgiving speech. Happy Thanksgiving. Juju says, I lit mine, however, it's not in a window. Is that okay? Yes, that's totally okay. The whole idea with putting a candle in the window is because usually on Holodomor Remembrance Day, you know, it's just, you would walk down the streets in Ukrainian towns and you would see candles in each windows, basically reminding you of the events that happened. So it's totally fine if it's not in the window. It's just traditional to put it in the window to sort of for it to sort of serve as a reminder for all of us about what had happened to us, and to commemorate victims of the event. I am now going to show you a trailer. I hope that YouTube doesn't like copyright it or whatever, because it is, on YouTube, it is not a full movie or anything like that, but I am going to show you the trailer to Bitter Harvest, and I hope that if you have the time to, and if you're interested, you are going to watch it and, know a little more about Ukrainian history. It's one of the best movies to watch for that matter. So I am going to, oh my gosh, Michael's Black Friday sales, woohoo. Okay, so present, share screen, Chrome tab, A Bitter Harvest, official trailer. I am going to place you guys over here from TikTok. Hi, Truthful, good to see you. Also, in the meanwhile, for everybody that might be new on this channel, hi, my name is Yulia. I was born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine. I have been living in the United States for the past 11 years and moved here at the age 16, or maybe 12 years, I guess, because I'm 28. My family lives in Ukraine. On this channel every day, we do the news for the past 24 hours in Ukraine, and we talk about them in the context of geopolitics, history, and current events. This stream is currently on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Twitch. And my handle is the same across all of these platforms. So if you prefer any one of those platforms, you can switch up. YouTube has long format video interviews with Ukrainian defenders, and there are a lot more educational segments coming, and TikTok will answer any question you have about Ukraine if you just scroll far enough. Thank you, Truthful. With that said,
sale is almost over. Get 70% off frames, ribbon, and more. Up to 60% off trees, decor, and ornaments. Plus, epic deals on thousands of items in store and online. Hurry! Sale ends Sunday.
I need to go through the ad first because it won't let me do it otherwise.
Laser hair removal blew my mind.
I don't want to know about your laser hair removal. So it's like always the ads are sometimes so random. I'm like, I don't care for laser hair removal. But so some people are asking, what movie is this? It's called Bitter Harvest, and it's a movie that was made by a Canadian Ukrainian director. And it's actually incredibly accurate as to what happened during Holodomor. So also I want to point out that, while the world celebrated Black Friday as in, sales and smaller prices, Ukraine celebrated Black Friday as in loss of electricity and a complete blackout. I also will be posting a video today on TikTok about Holodomor, and I will try to post a compilation of videos about the everyday life of Ukrainians today and in which conditions we live. And also I want to show you, because I know that the world is used to seeing the Ukrainian army as these brave soldiers who are persevering. But there are so many videos now that it's winter that are showing the conditions in which they are living in the trenches and on the front lines. And it is so incredibly, just, those are treacherous conditions. And I think the world needs to see this, because while they are brave, while they do persevere, while they are seemingly invincible, they're still human and they still need help. And I think now that we're getting more weapons and we're getting more, more stuff like that, people might have this wrong idea that everything is fine and everybody is well supplied, but no, it's winter and they are living in mud, in cold, wet mud. So yeah, that is that. Also, Karori here says, I remember a story from my teacher. During Holodomor, her great-grandmother had a cow and they had not with what to feed it, and it was so weak that the cow couldn't stand but only lay, and they tied her with, and I didn't see what they tied her with, but yes, there were a lot of farm animals that also died, and most of the farm animals actually were taken away because that's food and that's meat, and that's something that Ukrainians were not allowed to have to begin with. So, today is a very dark day in Ukrainian history, ironically, in two different ways. In one way, because it is the day of remembrance of the victims of the largest famine that Ukraine has seen and probably Europe has seen, that no one talked about until today, and also because it was physically incredibly dark in Ukraine this Friday, yesterday, because of the rolling blackouts and full blackouts due to infrastructure damage. So that's that. I am assuming there are going to be lots of candles lit in Ukrainian windows and this evening because of necessity and because of remembrance. So that's what I had to say on the discussion part of the day, and now I'd like to move over to the part where we talk about the news. So if anybody has any questions, anybody has anything they want to ask before we dive into the news, as I said, sometimes it's harder for me to read your questions while I'm reading the news. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, what is happening? As I said, sometimes it's harder for me to respond to comments while I read the news because I'm focused on what I'm reading. But if you have any questions now, please let me know while I am setting up for the news stream to proceed. And as I mentioned earlier, if you guys are okay with it, and that by no means means that I will where did you get your beautiful earrings? I got them on an All Saints sale a long time ago. All Saints has very fun jewelry. Nice to see you too. I'm Sapu. But so what I was going to say is that if you guys don't mind, and that by no means means that I will not be reading other questions, but if you have questions during the news stream and you absolutely want them to be answered, and you want these, and you want to make sure that I see it, there are now these super chats and super stickers and stuff like that. And so first of all, they really support me because every little gift, every little thing matters a lot and goes a very long way. And also if that way they show up in like a different color and there is no way I can miss them. But at the same time, if the chat is slow, I'm obviously going to see your questions and answer them either way. But I guess I could do the same thing as Aravosis does and introduce super chats as the questions that are going to be answered no matter what. Because first of all, it's hard to miss them. And second of all, well, you're quite literally giving a small donation for your question to be seen. But again, I will still be answering not super chat questions too, but if the chat flows fast and I'm concentrated on the news, then it's harder for me to see them. Okay, also Kayla says your nails game is on point today. So the funny thing is that it does look like that from the distance, but it's not really from not the distance. First of all, I'm missing one nail and it really bugs me because OCD. and I didn't have time to put it on, and I'm so tired of these stupid nails because they just keep falling off. But yesterday I was really tired of them just being nude, so I like painted, you know, little red tips on them, and I figured that you know, this is a good thing. And I figured that red is symbolic to today, you know. So yeah, also, what was I gonna say? Someone's asking, best charity for Ukraine. Here, I have I volunteer for this amazing organization. It's a nonprofit, and it's called Mission Kharkiv. And here, there is no best charity for Ukraine, right? It's it depends on what kind of aid you want to provide. But I volunteer with this nonprofit organization. It's called Mission Kharkiv. It's fantastic. What they do is, well, what we do, I guess, what we do is we bring medicine to the frontline cities that have been recently deoccupied in Kharkiv, and we're planning on branching out to other regions like Donetsk and Kherson and other places. And this is what it is. We're on Instagram and on Twitter. We're also soon going to have a TikTok. The reason why we haven't been on TikTok yet is because we just hired a new social media manager, and you might know her. I won't put her on the spot, but you will find out, I'm sure, because she'll be showing up in the videos. But so this is the charity. It's called Mission.Kharkiv, Kharkiv like the region in Ukraine. And one of the amazing things that they do is they bring care packages with food for the elderly in the frontline cities, and also medication for chronic patients, and in general medication. And we also evacuate oncological, so cancer patients from Kharkiv, and bring them to hospitals and clinics worldwide for further treatment in safety. And that's what the nonprofit does. We are going to be collecting donations for Giving Tuesday. For heaters and generators for Ukraine. Also, who is this? I got someone on Signal messaging me, and it's very strange because I don't know who would they eliminate reason of refugees and humanitarian crisis. I love to donate to military more, so stay tuned. If you don't follow me on YouTube, please follow me on YouTube. I have 3 parts of the 4-part interview with the Azov serviceman and defender of Mariupol and Azovstal, Tork. And Tork was severely injured. He was in Russian captivity. He has, like, a part of his muscle is missing from his leg. He has severe nerve damage and stuff like that, but he's been recovering since July. He's not fully recovered, but today he let me know that he's going back to the front lines. And I know no one can stop him. So I am going to be organizing a fundraiser for Giving Tuesday to get Tork like fleeces, uniform, or like warm uniform, proper boots and stuff like that. You know, it's called the 7th layer. It's this like kind of like warmth layer that he really likes. And I just would like to, you know, not sponsor. I would like to collect, because I can't sponsor. I mean, I'm barely like floating out myself here. But so I would like to help Tork. I would like to use my platform to help Tork not have to spend his own money that he, you know, is already not lacking a lot of, because he lost his apartment. His parents lost their apartment. He has nothing left. So I would like to help him. I would like to help him get all of the you know, proper gear to go back to the front lines and fight. And I highly suggest that you watch the interviews that I put out there with Torque, because you will find out exactly why I care about him so much and why everybody has like fallen in love with him and his story, because he's just an amazing person. He's a true warrior, and he is one of those people that never gives up. And honestly, Ukraine is lucky to have him as our defender. Okay. The permanent delegation to the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine to the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly will boycott the work of the organization after the standing committee failed to change the rules to expel Russia. This was reported by a member of the delegation, Yevgenia Kravchuk. Russians massively shell Kherson after its deoccupation. This is the revenge of those who lost. They do not know how to fight. The only thing they can do so far is terrorize, said Zelensky on November 24th, Thanksgiving in the United States. 7 people were unalived and 21 others were injured as a result of Russian shelling of residential areas of the city. Here is what that looks like. So I'm going to show it from farther away. Oh. This is recently deoccupied Kherson. It still has no electricity and no heating. And this is the city Russians were claiming is a Russian city, and they care about the residents so much. And it is, and this is what they're doing to it. They are shelling it incessantly on a daily basis after they have been pushed out of there by the Ukrainian armed forces. A local resident carries a kitten found in her apartment building destroyed by Russian missile fire in Vyzhhorod near Kyiv, November 24th, 2022. Welcome to the Ukrainian Thanksgiving. So here are the conditions in the trenches on the front lines of Ukraine. Take a look. These are the conditions in which our soldiers have to live on a daily basis. Hi, Cody. Also, guys, I found out that the amount of comments under videos is one of the biggest driving forces for YouTube to recommend streams or videos to a wider variety of audience. So I'm going to ask you to please like this stream on YouTube especially, and share it if you can, but also after the stream, or generally, if you could leave some comments pertaining to whatever it is that you saw in the video on my videos, that would be incredibly helpful to keep pushing them forward for more people to find out. So if you are on YouTube especially, and you have the ability to like this stream, comment on this stream, comment on my other videos, please do so. And also to everyone who's asking if my YouTube is the same as my TikTok, all of my social media are under the same handle. So if you go onto a social media and you try to find me and you put in YEWLEEA and you didn't find me, then I'm simply not there. So yeah, all of my social media is under the same handle. The moment Russia was recognized as a terrorist state.
The Russian Federation as a state sponsor of terrorism. There is a joint motion for a resolution tabled by 3 groups, and it is broadly adopted. Congratulations. We move in the Russian Federation as a state sponsor.
Also, this is a pretty long video, but this is Solovyov, and I want to show it to you. He's the main Russian propagandist on their state-sponsored TV channel. And this is his newscast where he cries, sighs, lies, encourages Russians to go to their demise for the motherland, and praises himself for his choice to give up his Italian villa. It was seized and he was sanctioned, so the choice was made for him. But yes, I'm going to show you this video on full screen, and you are going to be able to see it. You are going to be able to see it in a moment. I just need to play it to you. Bobby's painted heart rock of love supporting Ukraine. Oh, hi, Barbara. Good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, so I'm going to try to put it up so that you guys can read the subtitles well. But here you go. It's a 10-minute video. I don't know if we're going to watch the whole thing, but it is very telling, and I think it's...
Да. Так что горжусь моими друзьями, которые воюют в составе Росгвардии и в составе армии, и в составе добровольческих подразделений и казачьих. Так что будем их поддерживать. Регулярно буду появляться в разной форме. Извините, без погон. Звание у меня старик Российской Федерации. Как уже по возрасту есть определенные ограничения, что очень неприятно, кстати. Психологически в том числе. Слушайте, я вам такой вопрос хочу задать. Странный. А вы вообще чего ждете все от жизни? Ну вот я читаю много сообщений, которые приходят, и у меня такое ощущение, что люди просто из какого-то тепличного, абсолютно сладкого мирка, когда оказываются на фронте, они вдруг начинают так, а как пиццу заказать, а где у вас тут, как он теперь, вкусная дочка, подождите, а такси можно вызвать? И они так привыкли, их так вокруг все трогательно, радостно. И сравниваешь это с периодом героев, с Великой Отечественной войной, и думаешь, а вот тогда, когда люди шли на призывные пункты сами, либо когда была объявлена мобилизация, вот они о чем думали? Вот дурачок мне пишет, оперируя такими учеными словами, как постмортум, просто неприлично продолжать, коверкая простое слово, как патологоанатом. Знаешь, дурак, пошел вон. Ты даже своим именем боишься подписать. Зачем мне такого кретина, как ты, слушать? Ну, зачем мне такого идиота, который стыдится своего имени и фамилии, слушать? Поэтому пошел ты вон. Но вот что я ненавижу, вот просто ненавижу так, что меня начинает колбасить от чувства ненависти, это равнодушие. И, вы знаете, это какая-то, даже не то, что человеческая глухота, это абсолютная подлость. Вот я по-другому не могу сказать. У меня в передаче Игорь Марков рассказывал о страшной трагедии, которая произошла. Притом она такая длящаяся трагедия. С чем она связана? Погиб человек. И вот его семья получает письмо. Из предоставленных Панченко ВВ документов следует, что для участия в специальной военной операции Панченко военным комиссариатом Ставропольского края не направлялся. Кроме того, в военном комиссариате Ставропольского края отсутствуют сведения о сроке контракта об участии в специальной военной операции общей продолжительностью не менее 6 месяцев. Министр, целый министр, ее мать! Это министр подписал! Это подписал гребаный министр! Это государственный деятель, которые приводят закон, по которому кто такой Андрей Владимирович Панченко? Доброволец 13-го отряда Барс, отдавший жизнь за родину. Но министр решил, что не будет выплат семье героя. Это не Министерство труда и социального нападения на население. А могли еще написать: а мы вас туда не отправляли. А че вы туда поперлись? А вот развелись, черти кто! Вот понаехали тут у Ставропольского края. Деньги хотят отобрать. А у меня такой вопрос. Они по ночам хорошо спят? Родина сказала сначала: сынок, ты мне нужен. А потом: мы тебя не посылали? А потом: нет, чтобы вызвать отца. Вот взять этим рыбьим официальным языком, скрываясь за собственными бездарными законами Ставропольского края, сказать: а мы тебя не отправляли, ты у нас не проходишь в базах, а как он тогда попал в отряд? Или сказать то, что ты должен был погибнуть после 6 месяцев, если хотел, чтобы твоя семья получила деньги. Ведь эти гады тень бросают на нас всех, на Родину. Родина, она же мать. Родина, понимаете, Родина. Да Родина — это больше, чем любой чиновник. А Родина, она вообще есть. Вот я смотрю на разных людей. Вот этот там юморист Гудков, Собчак. И очень многие другие там звезды шоу-бизнеса. А у них вообще Родина есть? Ну вот они находят оправдание себе собственной трусости и подлости. Вот они говорят: ну послушайте, ну ведь мы напали. И когда ты говоришь: мы ни на кого не нападали. Нас давили, нас окружали, нас поджимали, нас пытались уничтожить. И теперь перешли в окончательную атаку. Мы смотрим на это все, и что? Ой, ну как же так? Ну зачем мы это делаем? Давайте все дружить, пусть будет мир. И они в этот момент нас убивают. У нас война. Нас убивают. И не надо мне рассказывать сказки. У нас не объявлена война, у нас идет война с НАТО. Мира хотите? Под мамкину юбку хотите? Родина в опасности. Родина! Это война. Нет высшей доблести и счастья для мужчины, чем жизнь отдать за Родину, за товарищей своих. Я верю, что многие этого не понимают. Для них нет лучшей доблести, чем дожраться, допиться до цирроза печени и сдохнуть, обстираясь мелкими бриллиантами где-нибудь на красивой даче у озера Комо. Но я свой выбор сделал, и он другой. А вы побежали в Израиль, в Грузию, в Прибалтику, в Армению, в Казахстан, куда угодно. Вы что, от войны бежали? Вы от Родины бежали. И не смейте возвращаться. Вы обслуга нацистского режима. И вам будут срать на головы за то, что вы русские. А вы будете кричать и пытаться сделать, что нет, вас не понимают. Вы соль земли русской. Вы дерьмо земли русской. Вы блевота земли русской. Вы блевота земли русской. Нечего вам делать на моей родине. Вы недостойны ее. Сдохните под забором. В блевоте своей. В наркотическом угаре. В алкогольном бреду. Вы называете нас пропагандистами? Да мы патриоты. Не смейте возвращаться.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure there is like some conclusion moment to this, and it's very deep. But here's the thing. So, well, obviously, this is one of the most repulsive things I've heard in a while. Also, I love that it used to be a special operation, and now it's suddenly a war. And now that Russia is losing, wasn't able to take Kyiv in 3 days, wasn't able to hold on to Kherson, to Kharkiv, to most of Zaporizhia, now it's a war with NATO, obviously, because how can we lose to Ukrainians? See, here's the thing. When I was talking about, thank you so much. So when I was talking about, this idea of, when I was talking about the encounter I had with a Russian waitress yesterday, right? Here's the thing. Obviously, I didn't go and I didn't ask to switch a waitress, although I don't want to interact with Russians, and I have a full right. I have a full right to not want to. I don't, and it's like not up to me to find out if they're a good Russian, a decent Russian, a bad Russian, an okay Russian, a Russian, whatever, right? It's not for me to spend my time on. But here is one thing that I know. I should have asked to switch the waitress, and I'll explain to you why. Not even for petty reasons, but while that waitress lives in the United States and contributes to the United States economy, she also might have a mom, a dad, a grandma, an uncle, whoever in Russia. And she might be sending money to them. And again, it shouldn't be my job to find out if she's doing that or if she's not doing that, right? But if she is sending them her salary, if she's sending them money, if she's financially supporting them, which there is nothing wrong with supporting your family, right? She's contributing to the Russian economy. And that contribution to the Russian economy is contributing to the war in Ukraine. That contribution to the Russian economy, even if it's 50 cents to $1, it is contributing to the genocide of Ukrainian people. And I don't want to have any part in contributing to that. I don't want to do that. And that's, anytime there is, people say things, they're like, oh, but you won't go to Russian stores and you go to this and you won't go to that and you want, you don't want Russian waiters and you don't want, I don't know, like to go to a Russian business. Like they didn't do anything. They're not in the wrong. They're like, they live in the United States. Well, first of all, you don't know what their views are. And based on what we see daily, a large population of Russians abroad have very, very, very perverted views on this. And two, you never know. Thank you, Darlene, because these Russians might have family in Russia. These Russians might be buying property in Russia. These Russians might be contributing to the Russian economy inadvertently, indirectly. through their families that they support in Russia. And a lot of Russian immigrants who work here in service and stuff like that send money back home. And so, yeah, pardon me for not wanting to contribute to the economy of the country that is currently invading me through its citizens. And it is not my job to go and have an extensive conversation with someone who is Russian, from whom I can purchase goods and services, to find out whether these goods and services, whether my money or money of the people I'm with are going to end up in Putin's hands. And also, I think this is not crazy to say, but say if I were to ask her or someone else, like, hey, do you support your family in Russia? And she would say no. I don't believe that. You know, what am I supposed to do? Go do online research and spend 3 hours of my day figuring out if this money is going to end up sponsoring the war in my country? No. No. I'm not going to do that. It's not on me. And I think that, you know, most of the times, like, I just swallow it. And like, if it's a Russian waitress or if it's like a Russian sales associate whose salary is being paid, you know, through my purchase or something, I just do it. But I think yesterday I realized for myself that next time I'm going to be at a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress is going to be Russian. Next time a bartender is going to be Russian. Next time a sales associate is going to be Russian. Next time they're going to be Russian. I'm not going to spend my money there. And it's not for petty reasons, but it's for reasons of, I don't know if their salary and my money that I've spent, that their salary gets paid from, is going to go and support the Russian economy. Again, it's totally fine for them to want to support their parents, their family. It's totally fine for them to want to support their whatever. And, you know, because I was like thinking, you know, to myself, like, well, if I ask to change the waitress and stuff like that, then like, you know, the whoever I asked that from is going to be like, oh, but this is like so wrong, and this is just like bigotry, and this is like xenophobia or whatever, or discrimination, right? It's okay. I will spend the 10 minutes and I will explain why I think that way and why I don't want to deal with that, right? Lookback is saying, what if their parents live close by? But that's the thing. I shouldn't have to do that research. You know, that's the thing. Like, I shouldn't be asking questions and finding out whether they support family in Russia, whether their money end up in Russian economy. I shouldn't be. And I think it's perfectly freaking normal and perfectly justified to not want to contribute to a salary of a person whose money might end up in Russia. And I'm not going to do that from today on. And if it's going to take me 10 minutes to explain to the owner, to the host, to the whatever, why I would like a change, it's justified. It's justified because then I end up paying potentially to sponsor the war in my country, to sponsor a genocide of my people, to sponsor the fact that my dad lives without electricity, my mom lives without electricity most of the day. I am refusing to do that. Also, having to look at a Russian, having to deal with a Russian is traumatizing. It is traumatizing. It is just what it is. And that's the thing, because the majority of Russians are so anti-Ukrainian, are so awful to us, and are supportive of this war, and are like looking down on us. And if they're not supportive of the war, they're mostly not supportive of the war for the wrong reasons. It's traumatizing. I don't want to have to deal with it. I don't have to have these experiences just because they're in front of me. I can choose to avoid them. And if someone at the restaurant says, well, I'm sorry, we are not going to do that, it's discrimination, then I'm just going to leave and I'm going to go to a different restaurant. I'm not going to cause a scene or anything. But if it's a place where I really want to be, then I will try it. That's all. You know, it's not like I'm going to be mean. It's not like I'm going to be rude. It's not like I'm going to be a Karen who's causing a scene and being like, fire this person, you're contributing to this, this, and that. Like, no. I'm obviously not that kind of person. But if it's my choice of whether I want to spend my money on it, from today on, I'm going to choose no. If the Russian bartender has a Ukrainian flag on their clothes, would you act differently? No, because again, you could be quasi-supportive of Ukraine. You can be, I've seen so many Russians, like through my friends' dating apps and stuff like that, whose main profile picture, once you like see them on the dating app, is like them at a pro-Ukrainian rally. They're like, look, I'm a good Russian. And it's kind of like, so what? If you're a Russian citizen and you have an ability to stop this, and you could have participated in a revolution, you could have done more, and you're not doing it, no. Also, honestly, like, I did an experiment. A couple of, also here, even if they like don't support the war, again, they can still have family in Russia that they give money to, because like you're not going to starve your family, right? Especially now in the conditions where like lots of Russians are being like fired because their economy is going downhill very fast. So yeah, no, I'm not gonna try to do that. Also, like, I even the Russians that don't support the war, immediately finding out that I'm Ukrainian, start speaking to me in Russian instead of continuing to speak in English. It's like, do you even know that I speak Russian? What if I don't? A lot of Ukrainians don't speak Russian. We understand it, but we don't speak it. It's like the same as like, we understand Belarusian, but we don't speak it. Belarusians are not immediately speaking Belarusian to us. It's like, I'm from Lviv. I understand Polish. I speak it. But when I go to Poland, nobody immediately starts speaking to me in Polish if I say I'm Ukrainian, if I approach them in English. So no, my opinion and my actions completely wouldn't change. It would be the same thing. And I was gonna say something, but I forgot what it was because I got distracted. But so I did a social experiment, which is also, a very, very, very kind of gross thing that people probably mostly don't notice. But so a couple of months ago, me and my moderators were joking, and we had this like thing where like, oh, if you haven't used your dating apps in a couple of years, like your profile gets deleted. And I was like, what? I don't think so. So I re-downloaded the dating apps just to see if my profile would still go up. And I went on there because I was like very curious to see what's going on, right? Like, I'm a married woman, I don't need dating apps, but I went on. And so in the couple of days that I was like, that my profile was active, I've accumulated like quite a bit of matches, right? And so a lot of them were Russian. A lot of the men that liked my profile were Russian, like Vladimir's and Max's and Igor's and stuff like that. And I, just out of curiosity, I just matched back with them. I wanted to see what they say. They immediately ask if I'm Russian. Or that like the good Russians will be like, oh, your name sounds Eastern European. Where are you from? Because a year ago, they would all be just like, oh, are you Russian? They wouldn't be like, oh, are you Eastern European? They'd be like, are you Russian? Right? But so anyways, a lot of those people did that. And then a couple of times, I was also just generally very curious how people react to a Ukrainian person, right? And so I specifically matched this with a bunch of just kind of American men. And every single one of them is like, oh, you have a cool name. Where are you from? And I'd be like, oh, I'm from Ukraine. And they're like, oh my God, I've donated to this, and that place. Like, I've done so much for Ukraine. My goodness, I would be on the front lines in the Foreign Legion fighting if it weren't for my demanding finance job on Wall Street. But you better believe me, unprompted, you better believe me, if I was, if I did not have my 9-to-5 in finance, if I didn't have my 9-to-5 in finance, I would be in the front lines in Ukraine. It's like, first of all, a simple, hey, is your family okay, would have sufficed. I don't need a breakdown of your of your charity tax returns for everything that you've donated to Ukraine. It almost sounds like a fetish, you know? It's like, oh, this poor Ukrainian girl, listen, I've done this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and that for Ukraine. Oh my gosh, you know, I've done everything in my power. I'm doing so much for Ukraine. My God, you know, date me, go on a date with me. I've donated $5 to a charity, and I bought socks for a soldier, and hey, I would be fighting. Like, first of all, no, you wouldn't be. If you wanted to be fighting in the front lines, you would be fighting in the front lines, okay? If you can be fighting in the front lines, then just don't, you know, and if you have a demanding job and it's fine, and if you just don't want to, or if you, I don't know, you just have a job and you're not ready, it's fine. But like, why does every single person have to be like, oh my gosh, you're Ukrainian, let me tell you everything I've done for your country? It's almost like, you know, if someone says like, oh, hey, I'm from Korea, and there is this like fetishization of like, of Asians, right? And people will be like, oh my gosh, I've dated a Korean once. Oh my gosh, like I've been to this place. Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go to Seoul. It's like, you know, it's like a sort of a fetishization of like Ukrainian women now, or Ukrainians in general, that's kind of like a little overboard, and it's uber annoying. So I'm just gonna let you know, if you are like, even if you're a great person and you have donated to all of these things, and you have served in the front lines, and you have done all of this stuff, I beg you, please, if you match with a Ukrainian person on a like social media, or you see a Ukrainian person, please don't start your conversation with telling us everything about your charitable tax returns, how much money you've donated to Ukraine, and how you would love to go fight on the front lines, but you can't because of X, Y, and Z. Like, we are super grateful. We are incredibly grateful. And you know this, I talk about this every day. But when it becomes this like pompous sort of like show off kind of like event to be like, look at me, I'm doing so much, it's kind of, it loses its meaning. And also, you know, as a Ukrainian person, I feel like all we want to hear is, hi, how are you? Is your family okay? That's about it. That's much better and more than enough than a breakdown of every single thing someone has done. That's just odd, you know? And it just makes like, it's like, what, like, it's kind of uncomfortable, you know, like what should I say to this, you know? Thank you very much. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing, you know, I wasn't actually looking to date anybody. It was just like an experiment, you know, but someone who is like, imagine how it feels to a random Ukrainian girl who's actually out there like trying to date, and every single man is like, oh my God, you're Ukrainian. Crazy. Photo of a defender of Bakhmut. So one of the things that I do want to point out is that might not work until you clear data. Other sites have stored on your device. What? Oh, okay, 1 second. I need to do this. I need to delete some videos from the past couple of days to free up some space on my laptop. So give me 1 second, because my computer is not having a very good time with this. Are you watching the World Cup? No, this is the first year that I'm not watching the World Cup because of the World Cup president, who was incredibly damaging and incredibly just like disgusting, and his words were so gross, and he was telling Ukraine to have a temporary ceasefire so people can watch the World Cup for a month. So this is a defender of Bakhmut. And one of the things that I want to say is that actual hell right now is on the front line in Bakhmut region. There are so many soldiers giving their lives for the defense of Bakhmut. Bakhmut is right now one of the hottest spots of the front line in Ukraine. And the guys over there are going through the worst imaginable scenarios. And I just think that everybody needs to know that. Okay, here is a video of, so this is NATO address. And it says, NATO will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. We will not look back. I will show it on the iPad because there is no subtitles needed.
If Putin and other authoritarian leaders see that force is rewarded, they will use force again to achieve their goals. That will make our world more dangerous and all of us more vulnerable. So it is in our security interest to support Ukraine. We need to remember what this war is about. Russia is the aggressor. Ukraine is the victim of aggression. And of course, Ukraine has the right to defend itself. We help Ukraine to uphold that right. There will be no lasting peace if the aggressor wins. If oppression and autocracy prevail over freedom and democracy. Most wars end with negotiations, but what happens at the negotiating table depends on what happens on the battlefield. Therefore, the best way to increase the chances for a peaceful solution is to support Ukraine. So NATO will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. We will not back down.
Well, thank you for that statement, Stoltenberg. The New York Times says nearly a third of the 350 artillery pieces that Western countries have supplied to Ukraine are out of service. To fix this problem, the United States has deployed a repair base in Poland. Russia plans to stabilize the front in Ukraine in winter and to resume active hostilities in spring, in connection with which the Kremlin expects that irrecoverable losses of mobilized people will amount to about 100,000 people, according to Russian media. Today is Holodomor Remembrance Day, and this is the video that I want to show you. Also, for some reason, I basically don't see, like my live is really glitching on TikTok. So let me reboot, guys, and I'll be back in 2 seconds. While setting this up, I'll reboot TikTok and I will see you back in like less than a minute. I will literally end it and then redo it again. So just give me a second. I will do that. Now it's been like glitching for a little while now for me. It does these like weird flickers and stuff, and so I don't know if it glitches. I don't think it glitches for anybody else, but it does these like strange things, and I really don't like that. Okay. So in the meanwhile, I am going to I'm going to wait for some people to show up on the live. As I said earlier, I don't think it was anybody's issue but mine. I think that I've just kept seeing like weird flickers, and it was like kind of going on and off in a weird way, which has never happened before. But I know that, you know, with TikTok, usually if something like this happens, it's just kind of like you just reboot and it goes back to normal because, you know, it's TikTok. So meanwhile, while we're waiting for people to show up, let's do a little recap. Hi, my name is Yulia. I'm Ukrainian, born and raised in Lviv, Ukraine. I have moved to the United States 12 years ago when I was 16 to study for educational purposes. My family, my whole immediate family lives in Ukraine and in Lviv. I'm the only one out of my family in the United States. Every day on this channel, we do news about Ukraine for the past 24 hours and news worldwide that are pertaining to Ukraine in the past 24 hours. We give it geopolitical, historical, and current events context and basically break it down and dissect it. I answer your questions. This stream is currently being broadcast on 4 platforms: YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok, and you can find me under the same handle everywhere. Rule of thumb is if you're trying to find me on a social media and you write down this handle and you can find me, I am not on that social media. All of your gifts and likes and everything like that are very appreciated. Also, as I said earlier, if you're on YouTube, please don't forget to like the stream, and please don't forget to comment on it and send it to friends if you'd like. And yeah, and that's about it. So thank you very much, and I'm really glad to see you here. Now I'm going to show you a video about Holodomor because today is Holodomor Remembrance Day. Thank you, Kay. Hi. Today is Holodomor Remembrance Day. Hi, C. Wenrich or Wenrich. Hi, I think you're new. I haven't seen you here ever, but nice to meet you. So, Holodomor is an artificially created famine.
Колись Москва хотіла знищити нас голодом. Вороги забирали останнє, лишаючи по собі лише смерть. Але вони не зламали українців. В пам'ять про це ми кожного року запалювали свічки. Сьогодні ми знов запалюємо свічки, тому що Москва знов намагається знищити нас. Тепер темрявою і холодом. Але наші свічки сильніші за їхній морок. Наш вогонь не згасне. Ми знову переможемо смерть.
So the idea of the video was that, you know, no matter how dark it is in Kyiv, our candles are lighter than that, and that on this day every year since Holodomor, we have been lighting candles, and that this darkness is not going to put our light out. And today, again, as in years before, we are lighting candles to persevere through darkness, except now it's not just in remembrance, but out of necessity. But no cold, no hunger, and no absence of light is going to break us. And that's basically what it is. Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki, arrived in Kyiv and commemorated the Holodomor victims today. Water, heat, and communication will be restored in Kyiv within a day. According to the authorities, as of this morning, 130,000 residents of the capital remain without electricity. Water supply has been restored in full in all districts of the city. There was an explosion in Dnipro. US President called to honor the memory of Holodomor victims. November marks the anniversary of Holodomor, death by starvation, according to a presidential statement released by the US Embassy. During his rule, Joseph Stalin introduced a harsh and repressive policy towards Ukraine, including the creation of a deliberate famine in 1932 to 33, also in the 20s, and also in 46 to 48, which led to the death of millions of innocent Ukrainian women, men, and children. We honor the memory of all those who perished in this senseless tragedy and pay tribute to the resilience of the Ukrainian people who survived devastation and tyranny to eventually create a free and democratic society, he stressed. Hi everybody. Good to see you guys. There was another explosion in Dnipro late last night or early this morning. Deputy head of the OP, Tymoshenko, said that electricity supply was restored in Kherson today. The head of Dnipropetrovsk region, Valentin Reznichenko, said that 7 private houses were partially destroyed as a result of the strike. The explosion caused a fire. A woman was injured. She pulled out from under the rubble and was taken to a hospital. Good morning, Pauline. In addition to the Polish Prime Minister, Lithuanian Prime Minister Simonaitė arrived to Kyiv as well. They signed a joint statement supporting the launch of negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the EU. Police of Dnipropetrovsk region released photos of the aftermath of the missile attack on Dnipro. Here they are. Take a look. There's a that's poor husband for hours you have been spec. I think what he's trying to say, your poor husband, you've been speaking for 4 hours and he has to listen to it. I'll tell you even more, troll. My husband actually records my YouTube segments that are going to be coming to my channel in the next couple of weeks. And you know what? He's perfectly freaking fine with it. Imagine that. I'll tell you more, I have been speaking for 1 hour and 36 minutes, but, he's going to hear me speak even more tonight when he's going to help me film stuff. So, sad, I guess. So this is a video of Chechen Kadyrovites, and it says, they didn't see this coming, epic ending. So I am going to make this as not loud as humanly possible because I don't know if there's like songs that are copyrighted. But here is what I'm going to show you. I'm reading Holodomor on Wikipedia. That is something that was never mentioned in history class. Yeah, it was never mentioned in any history classes, although it's a huge genocide on Ukrainian population. I would suggest, if you are interested in finding out more, I would say you should watch the movie called Bitter Harvest, or Mr. Jones, or you can read Red Famine. It's a book, or you can read Bloodlands. It's a book as well. Zelensky answers a little boy's question who asks, when will Ukraine win? Zelensky answers, we have already won. Now we need to finish the case. 6 people were injured after a Russian missile attack on the private sector in the Amur Nizhny Dniprovsky district of Dnipro. Rescue services are working at the site. Columns of vehicles with Ukrainian flags were noticed in Russia. Those are Russians filming propaganda movies. Everything is right on schedule. This is what it looks like. These are vehicles with Ukrainian flags on them. 1 second. And those are basically movie props. They're filming some more propaganda. Bitter Harvest is on YouTube, but you have to pay for it. It's like a YouTube streaming service. They what do they do? They do kind of like the YouTube premium thing. Belgium will give Ukraine underwater drones. The government of Canada has allocated about $7.6 million for the purchase of generators for Ukraine, Minister of International Development of Canada stated. As Putin continues to recklessly attack innocent people, our resolve to help Ukraine only grows stronger. Another exchange of prisoners. Ukraine managed to release 12 of our people. Soldiers who defended Mariupol, CHNPP, and Snake Island are going home. CHNPP is Chernobyl nuclear power plant. These are the guys that we managed to get back home. And here is what that looks like up close. Hi, lady. Hello. So these are 12 guys. It says guys who defended Mariupol, Chernobyl NPP, and Snake Island. It does not look like any of them are from Azov, no. As I've said earlier, Russia is keeping Azov defenders and is quite literally basically refusing to return them back home. Foreign Minister Vladimir Makiy has died in Belarus. He was 64 years old. He had headed the Belarusian Foreign Ministry since 2012. Previously, Makiy was called a representative of the pro-Western wing of the Belarusian authorities. Before the mass protests of 2020, he was actively engaged in the normalization of Belarus's relationship with the European Union and the United States, but then completely switched to pro-Russian rhetoric. So he was probably forced into it. And it's interesting because now he is no more. So it looks like he has been taken out. So I'm going to show you a picture. And on the left, those are photos from First World War, the Third Battle of Ypres and the Battle of Verdun, 1916 to 1917. On the right, the photos from our defenders near Bakhmut today in November. Here's what that looks like. Look at how similar these circumstances are. We are in the same circumstance 100 years later. Luxembourg handed over 6 Primaco 150 UAVs to Ukraine, Ministry of Defense of Luxembourg has noted. President of Ukraine and Prime Minister of Belgium signed declaration of support for Ukraine's membership in the EU and NATO. Tina, what are you doing? Do you want to come here? Do you want to come? Okay. So RIA Novosti on Telegram, which is Russian propaganda state channel, has published this. Ministry of Digital Technology says Russia has achieved digital sovereignty. Almost all foreign IT companies have left the market, so they're trying to present it as a good thing because Russia has achieved digital sovereignty. A residential area was destroyed as a result of a missile strike on Dnipro. Britain has trained 10 Ukrainian crews for Sea King, Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom. The world united to prevent Russia from creating artificial famine again. Countries that have already joined the Ukrainian initiative Grain from Ukraine. Belgium has announced a contribution of 10 million euros. France will allocate 6 million euros in addition to the 14 million previously allocated to the UN World Food Program. Austria will provide an additional 3.8 million to supply grain from Ukraine to Sudan and Ethiopia. Poland will allocate 20 million euros. The Netherlands announced the allocation of 4 million euros. Hungary, $3.5 million. Canada will allocate 30 million Canadian dollars. Japan will provide assistance in the amount of $14 million, and Germany will contribute 15 million euros. Belarusian border guards and security forces planted a group of illegal immigrants from Southeast Asia in Ukraine. The detained men reported that they had been driven to the border with Ukraine by a car by persons in military uniform. They assumed that they were representatives of the Border Guard Service of Belarus. Then they were told in which direction the migrants should go. Very strange. I want to read more about this story. Budapest mayor, Hungarians are divided, but the vast majority supports Ukrainian people. Hungarian society is a very divided society that is heavily influenced by Hungarian government propaganda. The Orban government is trying to present that it is the only representative of the Hungarian people, but in reality, the society is divided. Here are some videos from Bakhmut today. No matter how hard, our guys are persevering and fighting. President of Hungary, Katalin Novak, during her visit to Kyiv, stated that the responsibility of Russian President Vladimir Putin for the war against Ukraine is obvious. Denis Shmyhal says the Kremlin now understands the importance of Ukraine as one of the guarantors of global food security and in every possible way blocks Ukrainian exports, thus creating artificial famine in other countries. For Russia, these victims are desirable. Unfortunately, they're interested in the state of global instability. Just as in 1933, they were interested in the death of Ukrainians. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Hi, Samsa. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, stated that Ukraine was doing everything to stop Russia's genocidal policy, according to the meeting with foreign leaders held in Kyiv on November 26th. Today, we held the first international summit on food security. It was held in Kyiv together with our partners, and deliberately, these days, when we honor the memory of the victims of the Holodomor of 1932 to 1933. Ukrainians went through a genocide, and today we're doing everything possible and impossible to stop the new genocidal policy of Russia, new but similar to the one that killed millions of people in the 20th century. And we are not just repelling aggression. Step by step, we're creating a system that will stop the aggression, dismantle its consequences, and guarantee long-term security, security for Ukraine, the whole of Europe, and the world. Привіт. There is some lost Russian person who's asking if there are Russians here. No, and if they show up, I'm gonna tell you, I'm what you call a Banderite from Lviv. You know, and you know what we little Banderites from Lviv do with little Russians. So I suggest that you go far, far away before I take your IP address even through your VPN and find you. You don't want to talk to me, right? So why don't you just find your own way out? Anyways, 2-day-old baby was unalived by Russian missile and it was buried in Vilnyansk. There may be a person under the rubble in Dnipro. The search continues. This was reported by the head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council, Микола Лукашук. Та я кажу, що ти москаль, а я українка, і що я бандерівка зі Львова. А ти ж знаєш, що бандерівки зі Львова роблять з росіянами. Ми ж їх їмо на сніданок. Тобі не страшно? Бо я би казала, щоб ти вже йшов. Okay, there may be a person under the rubble in Dnipro. The search continues. This was reported by the head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council, Mykola Lukashuk. Rescuers eliminated 2 fires. Now they continue to search for a person who's probably under the rubble. The work continues. The dog service has been engaged, he wrote. Summary of the main news. Summary of the main news for November 26th. Today, Ukraine commemorated the victims of the Holodomor. The heads of government of Lithuania and Poland arrived in Kyiv. Russians hit a residential area of Dnipro. 17 people were hospitalized. Ukraine released 12 more defenders from captivity. Russian airstrike on Chasovy Yar in Donetsk region. 3 people wounded. Ukraine officially launched the Grain from Ukraine initiative. And that is all that I have for you guys for today. Yep. So I also found this very interesting thread on Twitter that I wanted to read to you guys. Well, I didn't find it actually. It's been sent to me by multiple people, but it's a thread by a Twitter user, and she is talking about Natasha from Russia, who is a user who pretends to be pro-Ukrainian. Thread on why I think Natasha is a Kremlin propagandist. She recently succeeded in collecting $5,000 from Ukraine supporters. This is a long thread, but it's worth it to stay put and read. So stay put and read till the end. Supporters donated around 4,000 plus to Natasha for her trip to Mariupol to hand out heaters because she claims that the Russian government would freeze them to death. Are these people sure it's the Ukrainians who will get the heaters or the Russian army / Russians? Natasha claims to be a liberal who seems to find most flaws in the Russian government, but the question is, does she really believe in the idea of free Ukraine? She reeked of propaganda about Donbass, mainly Donetsk and Luhansk, even before the war. She said things like, in 2019, I traveled to Donbass with charity mission. Today, I see that these people are waiting for Putin's speech. They believe today is going to announce Donbass as a part of Russia. I don't want to upset them, but it won't happen. They had the same hopes back in 2018-19 when they started issuing Russian passports for them. I saw portraits of Putin everywhere in Luhansk. in every governmental building. Well, obviously, it's been taken over by Russia. They do really love Russia and believe that Putin is going to protect them. 7 years passed, but they still have hopes. Pro-Kremlin rhetoric. She has been helping the Russian government build gyms for military training in Luhansk even before the start of the war. She actively supports the idea of Ruski Mir in Donbass when clearly they're part of Ukraine. Here is a tweet that she wrote. 1 year ago, I went to the eastern Ukraine, Luhansk Republic, to the eastern Ukraine, not to eastern Ukraine, to the eastern Ukraine. I'm surprised she didn't say to eastern the Ukraine. There was still war, but we were opening gyms there with a charity I was working on. We opened a gym and a military school. After Mariupol was occupied, she posted propaganda videos of how developed the city already is, unlike Western media claims, but at the time of fundraising, she shows videos of the city saying it's not developed and Russians don't provide electricity and heating. Sounds fishy. She contradicts her own narrative. Moreover, she doesn't provide the list of Ukrainian families or the information on fundraising organization, however small scale it is. She won't even disclose the location at the time of donating. On 24th, max 25th of November, we're going to Mariupol, so a few days left. I won't reveal my location during our stay, want to stay alive, but going to keep you updated. I'm very curious as to why she wouldn't do that, because Mariupol is right now taken over by Russia, so it's occupied. So it makes no sense that this woman would be scared for her life because there are no Ukrainian military there. Okay. Here's what I absolutely hate. She visited the Wagner Group PMC headquarters and now is going to speak to people on behalf of them. All of you must know Wagner Group is a private army of Putin responsible for the massacres of Ukrainians in Donbass. Here's Natasha's tweet. I and my friend visited a new Wagner center today. Well, it's empty. From what I see, it's basically similar to Skolkovo idea. They give spaces, some can get grants for people who are going to work in inventions. Bloggers and media will also get places and equipment if needed. Okay. So a liberal Russian who absolutely opposes the war and Putin can walk in the Wagner PMC and get them to promote her more? This is beyond me, because Russians often get arrested, disappear if they speak against their government, unlike Natasha. And I was bold to ask to be invited when the building will start fully functioning. I want to speak with the residents and see which kinds of people are there and how it's going to develop in the future. While Natasha was on a trip to Luhansk to aid the Russian government, she accused Ukraine for demolishing the Russian monuments and bombing a bridge in Luhansk. Isn't it common to blow a bridge in a war zone? Yes. Natasha aided the Russian government in Donbass for training of young Ukrainians or Russians to fight against Ukraine before the 2022 war. According to her stories, she at least helped in charity of 2 military gyms for Russians, not to mention their training kids. More from the trip, she blames Ukraine for war in Donbass and accuses them of killing civilians when in fact she doesn't even live there, hence what she believes comes from Russian TV propaganda. She hates those Ukrainians, OSCE, who are loyal to Ukraine. She denied with the Russian officials and charity workers who waged the war against Ukrainians in Donbass. She dined and connected with them and published their stories. Natasha fully supports the annexation of Luhansk by Russia and its imperialistic motives. There is no doubt about it as she celebrates the anniversary of annexation. 6 years ago, Russia sent first humanitarian cargo to Donbass. Today, it was anniversary cargo number 100 was sent to support support and recognize territories. My fellow from Luhansk recorded it. Let's move on to her boyfriend, Eric, who lives in the USA. He doesn't support the war yet, doesn't care to acknowledge that the war isn't about NATO and about Russia's genocidal regime and Russians who support it. Eric fails to call them out or always throws a loophole. Well, yes, I also have an experience actually speaking to Eric on my channel because he happened to get on my live stream and be a guest, and I asked him all the questions and made him answer all the questions, and I can post it on YouTube if you guys like, because I have the full stream. It's 2 hours long. It's me and Mila, and it's Eric, Natasha's boyfriend. And also on my backup account on It's Yulia, I also have a video on what Natasha was talking about me and what Eric was sending. While Eric was sending me the apology messages for Natasha, he was on Natasha's Twitter basically talking shit sorry, talking bleep about me. Pardon for my French. Addressing the issue at hand, the heaters for Mariupol, all the money goes to Eric in the US because Natasha has issues with PayPal. My question is, how will they transfer approximately $5,000 to Russia within a day or two, given that Natasha already left for Mariupol yesterday? The people who raised the concern over the aid passing to Russian citizens or Russian army living in Mariupol were given a guilt trip of Mariupol freezing to death. Why would one trust and donate to someone who helped Russians build the military training centers and gyms in the past? What is the guarantee that she won't do it again in Mariupol this time? There is no way to determine if the money goes to genuine Ukrainians or Russians. If you want to donate to Donbass, there are Ukrainians out there who can donate directly for you. Please don't donate to Russians and Russian charities. They might be biased or frauds. Lastly, I'm truly awestruck that she managed to collect 5,000 while people in Kyiv are without electricity, water, or gas. Imagine what difference $5,000 would have made if donated to at Knitting Ukraine, Ukraine Aid Ops, or U24 GovUA. Thank you for reading this thread, the end. I'm now going to take this thread and I'm going to post it in the description under this video. So if you guys want, because there is a lot of screenshots and information there that obviously I didn't read out loud, and it's fantastic. And I think that if you would like to, you should absolutely look at that thread, and you should absolutely read it, because it's full of very, very good information, and it could show you exactly what's happening. Also, every time a Russian collects, one second. So every time that a Russian collects on something to help Ukraine, don't trust it, because we don't know if this money is actually going to go to Ukraine. Also, here is the thing. There are Ukrainians collecting money for Ukraine. 1, 2. They wouldn't have to collect money for heaters, and what Natasha can do if she wants to help the poor citizens of Mariupol is convince her army, with which she's so close, to leave and deoccupy the city. That's what Russians can do if they want to help, because here is what she's doing. Her people, her military that she supports, have created this issue. They are responsible for these people freezing to death. And instead of eliminating the issue and leaving, they're raising money for heaters that most likely won't even see those people. She was on the train to Mariupol, Jillian says. How? How was she on the train to Mariupol? How in the world? First of all, how is someone from St. Petersburg on the train to Mariupol? You would have to go from I'm sorry, I'm speechless right now. I'm going to question this quite hard, because let me show you why this sounds incredibly strange. So here we have St. Petersburg right there on the map. In order for you to get to Mariupol, you would have to go from here to here to here to here. It would be a loop. It would take her 3 days on the train to get there. What? Anyways, also, again, how are they going to transfer $5,000 from Eric's American PayPal to Natasha's Russian accounts? And if she has a problem with PayPal, how is he going to transfer the money to her? Anyways, this all just sounds incredibly fishy. I don't trust it. There are Ukrainian people that are raising money for heaters, And those Ukrainian people are a nonprofit that I volunteer for called Mission Kharkiv. So if you'd like to spend your money buying heaters for Ukrainians, please consider donating to Ukrainian charities, not to potentially Russian scumbags. Okay, so we've approached a 2-hour mark of the stream. Please let me know if you guys have any questions, if you have anything like that. Armin posted his quote of the day, so I'm going to read it. It says, Dwight Eisenhower warned, there must be justice sensed and shared by all people, for without justice, the world can know only a tense and unstable truce. If Russia isn't punished for its crimes, it will repeat its crimes. Real and lasting peace is only ever achieved by justice. Lookback says, I have a hard question. Well, you should ask it, and I'll decide if it's a hard question or not. But yeah, shoot, sure. Aravosis tweeted about it. What is hope? I mean, it's not a hard question. It's just, it's a philosophical question. Hope is what you make it be. Hope is a belief in something, is a belief that something will happen. Hope is very often a belief in something unlikely to happen, that it's going to happen. Good night, Mariana. It was good to see you. Treat for Sin, please don't worry, Sin, I got your back. No, because I'm going to feed her right now, and I gave her lots of treats today. She can't keep, I can give her too many of these things because it's not good for her. They have a lot of treats have a lot of sugar. So I can't. I'm sorry. Hi, Frank. Oh my gosh. Well, you came right at the end of the stream. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you, Brandy. That's so very sweet of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate all of the gifts. I really appreciate all of the animations, all of the super chats. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so very much. You're nothing but very kind. And, thank you for supporting me, for supporting Ukraine, for supporting everybody. And thank you for continuously watching the news and staying up to date and not letting Russian propaganda win. Thank you, Jason. It's so good to see you. I gotta try. I will try to not give her yums before the stream tomorrow. Oh, thank you so much, Samsa. That is very incredibly kind and sweet of you. Thank you very, very much, guys. Thank you. How are your parents doing? They're doing good. I was talking to my dad earlier today, and he was at he was walking around a mall, I think. He was going to get food. Like, it's a mall, but it has a grocery store in it. He was okay. Cold, but he was wearing like a big puffer jacket, but he seemed to be in higher spirits than yesterday. Thank you so much, guys. Well, I really appreciate you, and you are the driving force behind this channel, and you're the driving force behind all of the people finding out about Ukraine, and you are the reason why I have a platform. So thank you very, very, very much very, very much. And I genuinely really, really, really appreciate all of your support. Without you, I wouldn't have a place to speak on the news about Ukraine. And to, what is it? Zuvik, I think, sorry, I don't see because there is, like, the background is weird, but says, I'm from Lviv, or I'm living in Lviv now. Your English is really beautiful. Thank you. I'm from Lviv as well. My dad and my mom and my grandparents are in Lviv currently. And я також зі Львова, or rather, я зі Львова. And I was born and raised there. How do people shower if there is no electric or gas for hot water? So in places where there isn't, people can't. That's the whole point. But in places where there are rolling blackouts, people basically warm up water in advance. That's just what it is. Харків, Львів. Привіт, дуже дякую. Kayla, what are you wanting for Christmas as an aside question? Oh my gosh. No, nothing. I want Ukraine to win for Christmas. I know it's not going to happen, but But yeah. It's okay. If you really want to, I do have a wish list on Amazon, but you're absolutely, you absolutely shouldn't, and there is no reason that you should get me anything for Christmas. but but yeah. But thank you. That is incredibly, incredibly sweet of you. You're very, very sweet. Are there saunas in Ukraine? Yes, they're called banya. And it's like a whole experience. You go to a banya and then you jump into cold water and then you get like beaten by tree leaves and then you jump into like a hot tub. It's a whole process. I will actually, if I remember, I'll demonstrate it to you next time. I think it's a cool thing to show you about Ukrainian, like, about Ukrainian sauna banya experience. Well, so Nicole says the best present would be to get her mom and her dad to the US. Well, actually, my parents don't want to be in the US. My mom did visit in August. My dad can't leave because he is of draft age. He's under 60. But also the best present, honestly, would be for the USCIS to finally process my travel permit so I can go to Ukraine. But yet. Do Ukrainians prefer wine or beer? I think wine, because we have very specialty like wine stores with like foods that you would eat with wine, and I think wine is much more popular than beer. Although Lviv 1715 is a very, very, very popular beer that is brewed in Lviv. It's called Lvivske 1715 or Lviver 1715. We also have Robert Dom's, which is like a specialty beer. And yeah, someone's asking what food is Ukraine known for? Well, so stay tuned because I'm going to be introducing a segment where a chef is going to teach you how to cook Ukrainian dishes on my channel. And the chef is my father-in-law. He's not a Ukrainian cuisine chef. He's not Ukrainian. I don't think he's ever made Ukrainian food. But what we're going to do is I'm going to give him names of dishes, and he's going to research them, and then he's going to make his interpretation of those dishes for the channel. We're going to film it, and we're going to show the recipes and stuff, and I will be telling him if I think that they're truly Ukrainian and if he did a good job. Which, like, I don't know if I want to tell him. It's always going to be a good job. I'm kidding. But so yeah, that's coming to YouTube, and a lot of people are saying borscht. We did think to do borscht as a first dish, but then we thought it'd be too expected. So we're probably gonna do cabbage rolls. I really want good cabbage rolls, so I kind of, I'm biased here. But yes, so that is what it is. Insta message regarding torque and military gear. Okay, I will read. Thank you, Veronica. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to go make some food because I'm starving. Cindy needs a walk, and I will see you guys either later tonight or tomorrow. I'm supposed to be filming stuff for YouTube tonight, so probably tomorrow. But thank you all for participation. Thank you for caring, and thank you for being here. And you guys are fantastic. I love you. Have a good day. Yes, make sure you like and comment, especially if you're on YouTube. Thank you. Bye, guys.